Hello, Guardians. Welcome to Tower Casuals, the Destiny podcast. I am your host, Corey Deering, and alongside me, as always, is the Oten Toten, Dead Man Tales slinging, the man who wishes he was Mithrax's ghost, Mr. Josh Finney.
Oh, dude, I'd give up a lot to be Mithrax's ghost.
I know.
Can we just appreciate how he fucking lived up to the hype?
He did. He looks awesome.
He looks fucking cool. He looks cooler than the last time we saw him.
Yes.
During 0 hour. So he's gone through some shit, and I feel like that's going to be part of the storyline here. But, man, it is surreal seeing the city plunged into endless night. The lights, like, flicker in the helm and in the tower, which is, like, really creepy. They, like, just shut off on you randomly, and you're, like, just standing there in darkness. Seeing Fallen hanging out in the tower and just like in the helm, just like casually lounging is so strange after all these years.
Yeah.
I love it. You're going back to the Scourge, and we'll get into those story beats here in a little bit, but like reutilizing the Scourge of the Past boss arena.
Yeah.
The servitor, I swear to God, that servitor that is in there is Insurrection Prime.
Yeah, it's got to be, right? Like
it's got to be. It's got to be. It's so like every one of these story beats is just so good. They didn't skip a beat between Chosen and this, which is good. I think we were all really concerned. The joke is that this is an even numbered season, so it's going to be bad.
Mm-hmm.
And thank God we did not have Season of the Wordy 2.0, at least not yet.
We almost didn't know because nobody could get it.
Yeah, man, Honeydew Errors defeated a lot of us on Tuesday at launch. But
next
thankfully
boss,
that's excited. Right? I mean, people like Glad had to delete their entire Steam friends list. That played everybody that plays Destiny, they had to take them off because like if you had more than 40 friends, you couldn't log in. Like him, Bife, a lot of content creators found out they had to do that, or they just resorted to logging in on console.
Wow.
Yeah, it was real bad. That's what the hotfix that got pushed out this afternoon was for. And also, crossplay accidentally went live, which we think was a huge contributing factor. And they had to come out and confirm that, no, this was not supposed to go live until next season. We were going to put it into beta this summer because there's been an emblem that's data mined that is going to be for participating in that beta. Man, there's so many things. But there's a little Legends tab for the director now. We talked about that a little bit last week. That's definitely where Vault is going. Probably where Prophecy's getting moved to. I'm excited. I really, really, really think it's been a strong start to the season. There's been some problems.
Yeah.
An awesome launch. Some of the best loot we've seen in a season ever. In terms of variety, in terms of the amounts.
I heard Pinnacle stuff. There was an issue with Pinnacle stuff.
Yeah, we're gonna get into that here in just a second. We've got three major topics we need to talk about. We need to talk about Pinnacles, which is the least of the concerns because we actually know that some Pinnacles are bugged, but most are not. They're just dropping differently now with the smaller increase. What I want to start off with is Transmog. A couple weeks ago when Transmog got announced, I believe it was A1 Johnny and myself kind of went in on it on this very show and said we didn't understand the complaints. We were all for this system. We thought it was, a little bit ridiculous that you gotta do quests to unlock armor you've already earned, but ultimately this is fine. Like, this is a game about grinding. I don't mind going and picking up a bounty and running and doing it. I expected those materials to be easy to earn. Oh, how naive was I.
You silly man.
They don't drop like normal consumables. They drop on a timer. You get one synth weave or synth strand, whatever the fuck it's called. I can't keep it straight. Whatever the basic one is, you get one that drops approximately every 2 minutes of gameplay. It takes 150 of these things to be able to buy a bounty. So that's almost 5. Somebody did the math. That's about 5 hours of gameplay to buy one bounty. Now, let me give you an example of what happens when you buy these bounties. You cannot preview them ahead of time. You can choose which category you want them from. So Vanguard, Crucible, Gambit, Raids/Dungeons, or Destinations. I chose Destinations thinking it would be, do a Legendary Lost Sector, or do 5 Lost Sectors, or like 5 public events, or something like that. I got defeat 50 Nightmares in Nightmare Hunts.
Neat.
I don't know when the last time I did a Nightmare Hunt was.
Well, probably, Shadowkeep's opening season, maybe? Second season in?
Honestly, I may have done one last summer for a powerful drop really quick. Because I did Garden at the very beginning of Season of Arrivals. That may have the beginning, like opening week of that season, maybe the last time that I did Nightmare Hunts. And even then, I only did like 1 or 2. There was no way in hell I was going to run like 7 or 8 of these, so I deleted the bounty. Deleting the bounty, we knew, does not give you back all of the currency. I was not prepared for how little it gives you. If you delete it, it costs 150 of these little bastards to buy it. You only get 35 back. It took me another 4.5, 5 hours of playing to be able to buy a bounty. In that time, I watched all of my friends end up with terrible bounties as well. Friend of the show, Joe Wilson, he came out with a pretty decent one. I believe his was just get kills and complete Gambit matches. His wasn't awful. Nerd Generalist got defeat 40 champions in Nightfalls. My buddy Matt got one where it was, what was his? His was also Nightfall related. I want to say his was just completing Nightfalls. He has to do like 3 ordeal Nightfalls. A1 Johnny got one where he had to get, and see, here's the interesting one. His is team based. Get 100 arc kills in the Crucible as a team. He had it done in less than 3 matches, but you also have to complete 8 Crucible matches. So I look at some of these, and they are wildly different. I have the list. I have the list of these bounties, and I want to note how easy some of these are compared to the bullshit that I ended up with. Okay? Which I did buy another one after that, by the way, and now I have to send or defeat 50 blockers in Gambit. Which still is great, but it is what it is.
It's better than that first one you got.
It's way better than that first one. Complete Wrathborn Hunts is one of these. Complete 5 Wrathborn Hunts. I'd rather do that one because you can sit there and you can still spam doing the same one over and over.
Right.
If you exit out, it still gives you the progress, apparently, so that one's actually like the quickest to do. Complete Blind Well runs. Complete Altars of Sorrow runs. Public events on any destination. Empire hunts on heroic or higher. Defeat primeval envoys, high value targets, and primevals in Gambit. Generate and collect orbs of power in any raid or dungeon. You have to do 100 of those. Complete 2 encounters in any raid or dungeon. Also easy. Complete the final encounter of any raid or dungeon. Also easy. Combatants as a team in any raid or dungeon using Arc, Void, and Solar. Challenging combatants in those. Accumulate points in Nightfall Strikes. That's the one that Matt got. 200,000 points. That's 2 Nightfalls, basically. So that's nothing. And it's just, you look at some of these, and you go, okay, some of these are radically different. Capture zones and control is one. And just the level of parity between some of these is just, it's beyond parity for me. It's hilariously bad. Transmog truly could not have been implemented worse, and it's a shame because I really like how the actual transmog menu looks in your character screen. I think it's really spiffy. It's the easiest way I've ever been able to see what my Guardian looks like, what armor I'm wearing, what ornament am I wearing, and what shader am I wearing. And it's just so easy to preview things now. I love how it looks, but man, the rollout to get it is a nightmare. they're going to have to nerf these requirements on at least a handful of these bounties, if not completely nerf all of them, because I think it's absurd. The fact that we figured out that they're essentially using a time gate to keep us out of something that's already limited,
right?
It's pretty bad. Now, what I will say is, I think for most people who play this game a lot, you are going to get, in 50 hours, you'll unlock everything for one character, okay? Which, let's be honest, you're probably going to play that over a season if you're hardcore into this game.
Right.
The problem is you get capped at holding 500 of that. So if you get all your stuff done early in the season, you're not going to be able to carry over more than 500 to next season. I think this is something that ultimately is going to affect such a minuscule amount of us. Basically, those of us who are like super online about it, and this is our main game, we're the ones who are mainly upset right now. I still think this is something Bungie's going to end up walking back, like nerfing again, like in half, maybe like to a third of what the requirements are, and tripling or quadrupling the amount you get of synth strand, letting you hold more, et cetera, et cetera. I just think it's a completely ridiculous system. You should be getting transmog tokens as part of your season pass. Like, people who pay for the season pass should be getting some of these tokens. I'm just going to say it. You don't want to give me silver, fine. I've never been on the give me silver train. I am going to be on the give me transmog tokens train, though. Give me 3 or 4 in the season pass. What's the problem with that?
Yeah.
Give me one for finishing a high level ordeal, or for doing my trials bounty for the week or something. Like, give me them some other way. Let me earn them in game other than just bounties. Like, let me earn them to be able to use them for any class. You do get 11 of them for free right off the bat, which I've already used all 11 of mine. I don't know. I'm still pretty upset about this system, and especially finding out that some of the bounties are so much more friendly to how you spend your time. The Gambit one doesn't bother me that much because I'll just save it until next week when I go to play Gambit. Yeah. I got it after I was already done with my matches for the week. Otherwise, I would have gotten it done just organically playing.
Yeah.
And I think that's the whole goal. Like, I'll probably start doing the Crucible ones exclusively, honestly.
Yeah.
Because that's most of what I play with friends. Like, I don't want to accidentally get stuck with 40 champions because that's going to take me weeks to get through.
Right.
So, and I don't even know if I'm going to do the full 10 per season because I just don't know if I have it in me.
Yeah.
The other issue I want to go in on, and I'm going to go in on this a little bit this week. We're really going to tackle this next week because I've complained a lot about PvP, the state of PvP, and Stasis on this show.
No, you haven't.
We covered this with Johnny and with Nerd Generalist at the beginning of April. And it's been about 6 or 7 weeks. It's only gotten worse. I said a couple weeks ago that I finally have reached the point where I cannot play Crucible anymore. It was literally unplayable for me during Guardian games. I was going to go in on this tonight, but I actually haven't had a horrible time the first couple days of the season in PvP, but I do recognize, because I've seen so many of I've seen the clips, I've seen streams, just people insanely frustrated with Stasis. The Hunters now have an aspect that makes the grenades even more powerful. Titans have ice spears. I don't remember what the Warlocks have. Forgive me, Warlocks. But it's just, we asked you to nerf Stasis, and then you go and give us aspects that make it even more powerful.
Right.
And it's just, at this point, I can understand a content time. This is not me trying to be an apologist, but I can understand a content timeline of, well, the aspects are already completed. We need to keep these rolling out because come Witch Queen, I guarantee you we're getting another Darkness subclass.
Yeah.
And so if you're going to do that, okay, cool. Like, there needs to be some way to counteract Stasis. Like, okay, so Stasis is really powerful. Solar subclasses should have built-in resistance. I should not have to wear an exotic to lessen my chance of being frozen or of being slowed. I should not have to do that.
Right. You shouldn't waste a spot for something.
That's only on Titans, too, by the way. There is nothing. If you are a Hunter, you're fucked. There's nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And to that end, the Hunter super, insanely overpowered. Shurikens, I'm scared to go into momentum control next week. It's going to be Shuriken City.
Yeah.
That's everybody's going to be chucking them down there. Those are going to be one-hit kills. If you can pop off both of them, bam, you can kill 2 or 3 people in a straight line with those.
Yeah.
In momentum control with how weak you already are.
Yeah.
This is it just continues to be very poorly implemented in PvP, and this is where I'm going to sound like a bit of an apologist. I understand how difficult it is to try and introduce your first new damage type in the entire franchise in 7 years. The first time you've implemented a new super since Forsaken, and you're trying to do all this working from home.
Mm-hmm.
You can't have as many internal play tests as you did. It's probably a lot harder to roll those builds out to all your people, like, remotely, instead of just like, all right, everybody go take your time in the incubation lab or whatever. We know from Damage and Cosmo and from Deej that, they play these regularly. They play these builds months before they're available to us. They give internal feedback. It's not just QA that does it. It's everybody at Bungie plays it.
Yeah.
They bring in external people. They bring in content creators, things like that. Something's got to change, though. We know there was a content creator summit, and some of the people we know that were invited are not necessarily the ones that are going in on it right now, so that makes me think maybe they have a plan.
Mm-hmm.
But the longer the silence goes on about this, and you can't just say we're working on it, we're gonna have some nerfs, we're gonna have some adjustments coming this season. You can't just say things like that anymore. You can't just give me a roadmap and be like, well, in a season or two, we're going to handle this. Like, no, PvP is literally unplayable for the majority of players right now. And it only gets worse every time you guys add fragments and aspects. It gets even worse.
Mm-hmm. It definitely, especially the last, honestly, since even before we started the show, it just feels like PvP's been an afterthought.
PvP's been an afterthought for, I would say, probably close to 2 years now.
It feels like the last time they really changed PvP was when they added the 6v6 stuff instead of the 4v4 stuff after vanilla, when they changed it, right? Like, I mean
they've made that far.
They've made changes here and there, but I mean, like, that's the last time they did like a major overhaul on PvP.
I would argue you got probably the last one you got was in the lead up to Shadowkeep. That's when they introduced we got a lot of new modes introduced for Shadowkeep. Momentum Control was one. I believe Breakthrough was one. Not Countdown. There was another one. We got a couple of modes there. They did some minor banner tweaks. We got a lot of new returning Destiny 1 maps. But consider we have had no new maps, not even a Destiny 1 map, added since Trials debuted last spring. That was the last time we got one. And I believe they brought Rusted Lands out of retirement and brought Exodus Blue over from Destiny 1.
Mm-hmm.
So like last February was probably the last time we got maps. It has been 15 months of no new maps. It has been... We still have no Destiny 2 maps that are original maps from the Moon, from Europa, this Vex area is perfect. Nope, nothing new in the Cosmodrome, and it extends beyond just PvP. Gambit has not had a new map in over 2 years.
Mm-hmm. Aren't they only running with 2 maps right now?
They're running with 3. There are actually 3. Yeah. Oh, I know. Big shocker, right? You have Titan, you have Mars, and you have Earth. They took the Dreaming City map and the Tangled Shore one out the Tangled Shore one needed to go. That map sucks. But they took the Dreaming City map out bizarrely. There are still only 1 Crucible map set in the Tangled Shore and in the Dreaming City. Both of those are currently taken out of the game.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, they're having me play the same fucking map it's now set on Nessus instead of Venus that I've been playing literally since the Destiny beta.
Oh, yeah.
The Destiny 1 beta. It used to be Shores of Time. I don't remember what it's called now.
It's called Distant Shores now.
I'm fucking tired of playing that map after 7 years, dude. If I never saw that map again, I would...
If I have to jump over that valley to get to Zone B one more time, and then you have like some creeper hanging out on those little pillars beside B while you're aiming through the doorway, is like, oh my gosh.
Mm-hmm. It's just like everybody knows how to play that fucking map because we've been doing it for so long.
Yeah.
It's just so many better maps that have been put on ice, or because people complain, oh, they're not good for comp. Like, who fucking cares about comp? Bungie clearly doesn't. There's a lot of things that have got to change, though. And again, we just went in on what they need to fix about a month and a half ago. But It's pretty clear nothing's going to happen. So every week until Bungie starts addressing this, I'm going to complain about PvP. And it's not going to be me getting up on a soapbox and be like, hey, they still haven't fixed it. I'm still not touching PvP. I still don't want to play it. I will be in Iron Banner next week. There's 4 new weapons. I want to be in there. I want to play. I'm still hunting for good rolls on some of the Crucible-specific legendaries. Like, I'll be in there hanging out.
I can't wait to die 5,000 times on Bannerfall again.
Like, I don't like it, but that's kind of where we are at this point.
Yeah.
The state of the game for summer cannot come soon enough. I have a feeling that PvP is going to be an area of silence, and I would love for Bungie to prove me wrong. I think it's going to be an area of silence probably until August when they announce what's coming for Witch Queen. If they do the Witch Queen reveal and there's not a heavy PvP and Gambit focus, I think, a lot of the PvP people in this community feel like they've already been betrayed.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that feeling's only going to increase. It's not a good look for you. We get it. You're going to want to push people towards that new IP that's going to be all PvP all the time. But you need to do something. An idea that I had when I was talking with Nerd Generalist last night, and I was talking with him and with Colonel Panic while we were raiding. I says, there's lore precedence for removing Stasis from Crucible. And my idea was you pull it out. Shaxx doesn't approve of it anymore. He's seeing what it's doing. It's corrupting Guardians, but he allows it in playlists like Mayhem. You allow it in Mayhem, for example. Have a special node that comes up, kind of like Iron Banner, but like instead of Iron Banner comes around once a month. Maybe once a month you have a special. You have regular control, but you also have Stasis Clash or Stasis Control or something like that. Like, not everything needs to be based around control, but as an example, like you have a rotating mode every week that is, you have the regular rotating mode version, and then you have a Stasis rotating mode. Of Clash, of Mayhem, of Control. Like, just rotating between the 3 of those to let people get it out of their systems until you figure out a way to fix this and balance this in PvP. At that point, you can take all the time you need.
Yeah.
And as a compromise, you let it run crazy in Gambit because, Stasis really isn't doing you a whole lot of good in Gambit except for ad clear. It's not, unless you're a hunter and you chuck your axes at the very end of your invade, it's really none of it's going to do you that much good.
Right.
So, and I think this is a problem that's only going to increase when we get to season 15, which is when we're supposed to get Stasis legendaries for the first time.
Yeah.
So,
have you used the Stasis sidearm, by the way? I know we'll probably get to it in a little bit, but
I have. I'm a little underwhelmed with it right now. I think it's one of those you're going to have the catalyst for it to be viable.
Right. Yeah.
But I'm definitely not as afraid of people running that in trials as I was.
Yeah. Okay.
But we're going to get this, Corey. We're going to get to some of the good stuff, though.
Yeah, I want to say one thing about Stasis real quick before we move on. It's just like, I probably played for about an hour and a half last night, and I played through that first mission, which I'm sure we'll talk about in a little bit. But then I went into like 1 or 2 matches of Crucible, and it's just like, I don't want to retread what you just said, but it's just like, every time I would spawn, there would be like, just ice shooting out of the wall or a Titan wall shooting up, or, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, I don't know. Like, we talked a little bit about it in our DMs, but it's like, the whole point of the game is supposed to be like fast paced, let's go hunt down these the opposing team with our team and take them out fast, time to kill, whatever. It's like this, it feels so slow. It feels so like, if you're not building your character around Stasis, you just shouldn't even play PvP. And that's how I felt last night, even when I was just like, okay, I'm just going to try to finish up some of these bounties. And I'm like, well, forget it. Cause like, I can't finish these bounties because I'm frozen the entire time.
Yeah. It's not good. It's in a really bad place. And the worst part is, like, there's so many things tied to PvP that we have to go in and do.
Yeah.
Right? Like, if you want to do your seasonal challenges and stuff, you got to be hanging out in there. Like, that's... We traded one horrible thing for another when we did Team Scorched last night. It was like, oh god, this is just as bad, except in a different way.
Yeah.
Like, I hate fucking Team Scorched, but it's one of the rotating challenges, so it is what it is. Like, at least that's something where you can't use stasis.
Yeah.
They're going to have to address it. Corey, you wanted me to talk about the challenges real fast.
Yeah.
Before we move on, challenges are one of them is bugged right now. They've confirmed Presage is bugged for drops. The rest of and Deepstone no longer drops powerfuls either in preparation for Vault of Glass. That is, for me, that's the contentious one. I did not know it did not drop powerfuls until last night when we went in there. It drops at level instead. If you've already gone past 1310, it drops at 1310, which is okay to me because I'm already past that.
Yeah, what is the cap now? 1320?
I believe so. I believe that's the pinnacle cap now. It would have helped me a lot, but it's ultimately okay. It's still helping the guy that I'm trying to get to 1300, so that's the important thing for me. The annoying part is that now that the secret chests do not drop you, the 2 bonus chests do not give you any spoils, and spoils have been nerfed from getting 5 per encounter or 10 per encounter to 3.
Jesus, really?
Yes.
Why?
I presume this is because they want to push people more towards Vault when it comes out. If I remember correctly, there's only ever been one raid at a time that has had pinnacle drops. Every time a new raid comes out, they don't do it. The spoil system is kind of new. I assume they don't want people to be, because Deepstone is such an easy raid, I assume they don't want you to be able to run in and just like stockpile up on spoils leading into Vault.
Right.
So like somebody like Colonel Panic, he's got like 200 spoils because he has never spent them. He is in great position for Vault right now. I have 52 spoils and I'm still missing the fucking LMG from Deepstone.
You ever get trusty yet?
I've gotten a couple of trustees, and I've actually gotten very good rolls on them.
It's about time.
I really need that LMG, though. Like, that is just king shit in Grandmasters, and it's going to be great in Vaults. I'm very upset that after 20 completions, I have fucking Eyes of Tomorrow, and I still don't have the LMG. Like, I digress, though. I digress, because I want to save my spoils for Vault. It's a problem that there's no longer powerful drops in there. Like, I would understand if you went to the +1 system, like some of these are. So Pinnacles are now +1 or +2. So your +1 activities. I want to get this list pulled up. I had it somewhere. Where the fuck is it? I have so many tabs pulled up on my. Here we go. So your +1s. Open 3 Conflux chests with key codes in Override, the new seasonal mission. Core playlists, so like Strikes, Gambit, Crucible, and your Hawthorne Clan XP. Presage will likely be one of those as well. Presage is bugged. We do not have confirmation if that's a +1 or a +2 yet. Your +2s are the 100k Nightfall, a Master Empire Hunt, the Exo Challenge, Harbinger, the Prophecy Dungeon, the Trials of Osiris Ingram that you get for 3 wins or for just losing enough to get to it, and Iron Banner. So you have those. We all got bugged with the Splicer Servitor bounties, completing 8 seasonal bounties. Joe and I both got an Ingram that said 1312, and when we turned it in, it dropped at 1310. So that is bugged as well. That will be a +2. I believe the seasonal weapon quest is supposed to drop as a pinnacle, and it is currently not. The fusion rifle. And then Vault will be the new raid pinnacle, with the rumor that it may double up on hard mode later on in the summer. And the seasonal mission, we will have a weekly pinnacle mission that will start up, I believe, next week is when that starts. It's either next week or it's the week after Vault premieres. So there are still plenty of sources. It's just we actually kind of have to try now.
Yeah.
And, like, I'll tell you right now, like, I'm not running Harbinger every week.
Yeah.
Thank God I'm already past 1310 because I just don't give a shit about Harbinger.
Yeah.
I'll get the rest of this, and I'm done running Presage at this point. I've got, I think, 2 more weeks to get the rest of the lore book and the rest of the smuggling compartments open to get the Triumph. So I don't care. I don't even know if you can even get those anymore. If I can't get those anymore, I'm just going to do it to be able to see the hidden room myself. But other than that, I mean, like, I probably don't want to do Prophecy every week. I'll do the 100k Nightfall, the Exo Challenge, and I'll do a bunch of +1s. I'm not doing Trials. I'm not getting Trials. Iron Banner only comes around once a month, but that's great. I mean, that's 4 +2s that you can get. Assuming you don't get shitty drops, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
It makes a lot of sense why they're doing Iron Banner so early in the season this time around now, and it's to give you some drops right before the raid.
Yeah.
So I like this. I don't actually have a huge problem with this. I think, again, people are just so... Understandably, this community is on edge. Especially the very vocal online minority of this community is just freaking out, and this was like the latest thing that they could direct their anger towards. But I don't want to dwell on the bad, Corey. There's a lot of good.
Yeah.
There is a lot of good at the beginning of this season.
Yeah.
The loot, like, we didn't expect some of the things that came about in the loot. When they said there was more to be discovered, we now know what that means. They brought back an entire arsenal of future war cult weapons.
They did. I was surprised to see Lakshmi in the cutscene.
I love that. I think that gives the idea that this is a growing and evolving world.
Yeah.
I like that. Let's start it on, like, the seasonal story. So everybody knows we're allying with Mithrax and with the House of Light. They're living in the city, though, which is not something I was expecting. They're living in the old Scourge of the Past boss arena, but it's basically like a ghetto.
Yeah.
They mentioned that there are human snipers watching them night and day.
Yeah.
Which is slightly terrifying to think about.
Yeah.
Mithrax mentions during one of the override missions, one of the line of dialogue between him and Saint is, Saint's like, you're sending our guardian in to do your work. That sounds exactly like something the Fallen would do. And he says, he goes, there are many of you. We are near extinction.
Right.
And we don't know if he means that, like, the Fallen in general or just House Light.
I think they probably mean maybe Fallen in general. Well, I guess House of Light. Yeah, I was gonna say, good Fallen, but
we know he's trying to ally all of the Fallen under his banner.
Yeah.
Mithrax is not pursuing this title, but a lot of things in the lore and in the storytelling seem to be setting him up to be the prophesized Kell of Kells we've heard about since Skolas.
Yeah.
Skolas believed himself to be it. Uldren tried to make himself it. Varix has tried. Aramis tried. Everything since Forsaken has pointed towards it will be Mithrax.
Yeah.
And given last season's tenuous peace between Zavala and Keitel, I think you're looking at a new alliance, like at least through the end of Witch Queen and into Lightfall.
Right.
I do truly think that by Lightfall there will be Fallen that are guardians.
Yeah.
I do truly believe that Mithrax will have a ghost.
Yeah.
By the beginning of Lightfall, I really think he will be.
Yeah, I feel like that would be like a really good story of him, like, sacrificing himself to save, like, either us or the Fallen, or maybe both, in like almost like an Avengers type moment.
Yeah,
and the Traveler rewarding him with a ghost, almost. You know what I mean? Like,
well, because
I know he won't
have stayed loyal.
Yeah,
so.
And I know he won't remember, right? But, like, that would be his reward, would be to become a guardian.
There is precedent to being able, and it only happens in extraordinary circumstances, where you can get a ghost without actually dying. Shin Malphur is the only confirmed one that we know, and that's what Jaren Ward, when he was killed by Dredge and Yor, his ghost had encountered Shin as a child years before and had been felt a bond with him, got very close to him, and he delivered him the news of Jaren's death and became his ghost. So there is precedent for this happening. That being said, I think to see something like that actually play out on screen, it will only happen with an extraordinary character.
Right.
And I think you have to build Mithrax up for not just a season or two, I think for an expansion or two before you can have a moment like that.
Yeah.
But I do think it will happen with either him or with Hawthorne. One of them is getting a ghost.
Yeah. Man. Hawthorne.
They got to do something with her. And
they got to push her off the ledge and put Mithrax there as the clan.
Oh, God, dude, please don't tempt me with a good time. Get her Shahan's ghost. It's okay. He doesn't need it.
Yeah. Oh, my gosh. Can we get rid of him, too? God. Can Shahan and Hawthorne just hold hands and jump off that ledge together? And Mithrax and the House of Light can just live in that the clan tower.
I love how many different aesthetics there are in this season already. You have the Fallen.
Can we talk about that Vex simulation in that first mission?
Yeah. Let's go. So, okay. You go to Europa, and Mithrax opens a portal for you to go into the Vex simulation. And this is very indicative of what it looks like when you go into the override missions.
Yeah.
It's so psychedelic and very 80s arcade cabinet inspired.
Yeah.
If we do not get PvP and Gambit maps set in this aesthetic, Bungie has failed us.
Yeah.
This is too good to go to waste.
Yeah. It's so cool. It's like
it took Prophecy and dialed it up to 20.
Yeah, it's cool, man. Like it's almost like it almost looks like a pink and purple wireframe build where you're they're testing stuff out and they're just let's add some color to this and really spruce it up and make it look cool. And this will be our Vex simulation. This is almost what I wish the Infinite Forest could have looked like too. Thinking back is you could do, man, topic for another day, but how cool could the Infinite Forest, how cool could have that been?
Yeah, I think I want to go in on that a little bit once we start getting these weekly pinnacles.
Right, yeah.
Because that's going to be in this same type of aesthetic, almost a control-looking aesthetic.
Yeah.
This is really cool. I really, really like these areas. We only have the one override mission right now, which it feels like a better version of the event from Season of Undying. Yeah. And it's like they took Season of Undying and Arrivals and kind of put them together.
Which was what, the Vex Offensive, right?
Yeah, so Vex Offensive and the banking moats and the jerry-rigged Gambit machines. I think that I think it's kind of cool that you took those concepts and put them together. It's a really cool aesthetic. It's a little self-contained area. I do agree with the feedback I've seen from some people after Battlegrounds it feels like a letdown. Well, Battlegrounds took you 20 minutes to do one though.
Yeah.
This takes about 10 to 12 minutes probably to knock one out right now. And you only have the one on Europa. We don't know if the other ones are going to look different. I imagine they will eventually.
Yeah.
We know there's one on the moon. There's going to be one on the Tangled Shore. And I think Dreaming City is getting one too.
Yeah.
I don't remember where the fourth one is. But I think that's really, really neat. I like these a lot. This is a fun event to go and do, especially with friends. The more friends that are in there, it's just okay, we're playing Destiny. We're just kind of shooting the ship. We're getting bounties knocked out. We were having competitions to see who could get the most bounties done the other day. That's what I used Vex Offensive for. We're doing that. We're doing seasonal challenges where we can. It's not bad. It's in a seasonal arena mode. It's what I expect. It's something I'm not going to think about playing after this. It's still way better than Wrathborn Hunts or Seraph Towers. I'd say it's better than Vex Offensive. I think it's slightly better than the Season of Arrivals event we liked because of the banter between Drifter and Eris. That's why we liked that. That event got real tiring and part of that's because that season went on for so long.
Yeah.
Not the typical 3 months. Doing this for 3 months, cool. I'm probably going to get tired of it about halfway through like I do with all these events. And I'll have all my gear by then. I won't care. right now it's the new hotness. It's the easiest way to get some of these seasonal weapons, not just the actual seasonal weapons in the season. It's how you get the seasonal armor as well, but it's how you can get some of the future war cult stuff.
Yeah.
You can get we have 3 class swords that are back. Like I want to shift into that, the gear.
Yeah.
We talked about how future war cult has an entire suite of weapons back. You have the pulse. You have a pulse. You have a scout. You have a heavy grenade launcher. You have an SMG. You have a sidearm, and you have a shotty, as well as the 3 class swords from Vanilla Destiny 2, including Quick Fang, and the fucking Titan Claymore is back. Is it? I think it's the Titan Claymore.
Yeah.
But the Warlock one rolls as a solar sword, and you can do a spin attack like Falling Guillotine with it.
Yeah. That's cool.
That's cool. I love seeing that. They gave these swords some new functionality. I got a sword with Thresh, which is really cool. So I get a little bit super energy for every kill.
Yeah.
I like that, especially when I usually am wearing gauntlets that boost me getting my super back.
Right. So they stack. It's really cool.
Oh yeah, dude. I'm getting that. I got all the trace rifle mods. We all know, as the resident Divinity bitch, I'm really enjoying that. Walking around with about 60 or 70 extra rounds in Divinity, loading real fast, getting better targeting. We tested it out on Tanix last night. He didn't stand a chance. It's just I like that they kept this a secret. Like, we didn't know about Future War Cult's involvement in the storyline. Corey mentioned Latch Me 2.
Yeah,
is a core part of the storyline. And after factions have been neglected for so long, we didn't think this was ever coming.
Yeah, because her little chair
left field.
Her little chair upstairs is just empty.
Yeah. It's been empty.
I know. That's what I'm saying. It's been empty.
She went off to go work with Ada on something supposedly, and it was this bullshit transmog stuff apparently.
Yeah.
I like that. The new seasonal weapons you can actually get are really, really good. I've been running a sidearm in there. Primary sidearm. I don't think I've taken it off since I got it. The whole new suite of the perks all feel really good. If everybody, excuse me, I'm pulling up my game right now so I can accurately say what rolls I have on these guns. Dim doesn't really want to cooperate with me tonight for whatever reason, but the loot is just rewarding. This is the kind of season that we've been asking for. You've got seasonal weapons. You've got like 7 of those, I think, if you include the season pass ones. You've got 4 Iron Banner ones. You've got the suite of Vault of Glass weapons coming back. You've got the entire Future War Cult suite. You've got 3 class swords. You've got 3 new weapons added, 1 each to each of the playlist activities. 3 new Nightfall weapons. Like, this is what we want. We want this in seasons. I don't expect every season to be this strong. I expect every season to be about what we got with Season of Chosen, though. Mm-hmm. And that enables you, especially with the Umbral Ingram system, to be able to rotate things out. But through the Umbral Ingrams, you can still focus on the stuff that you missed for the next couple of seasons. After that, make them world drops or sell them through the Gunsmith. Gunsmith is selling stuff from Arrivals and from Beyond Light right now. The Black Armory armor is dropping again.
I know, I saw that too.
As world drops. That's really cool. So my sidearm that I'm using it has the new perk Heating Up and Frenzy on it. Heating Up, final blows with this weapon increase accuracy and stability while improving vertical recoil. Let me tell you something. That sidearm really, really needed that because that thing kicks like it's a hand cannon. But I have that in a counterbalance stock, and it's basically a laser.
Yeah.
It barely kicks at all, and I love it. Like, I'm maining a sidearm right now, and it feels really weird. I'm going to have to take it off for Vault of Glass, but I got another one with Dynamic Sway and Rampage that I'm excited to try out. 450 auto rifles feel great now. I was using Shadow Price a lot in the Crucible this morning, just wrecking with it. Need to try out the new Slug Shotty for the season, Sojourner's Tale. Haven't had a chance to do that yet. The Future War Cult SMG stochastic variable is nuts.
Yeah.
I got this thing with the Ambitious Assassin and Dragonfly and Ricochet rounds on it.
Oh, really? That's a roll.
This thing looks like an Uzi.
Yeah, it looks cool. I thought it was. I was like, part of me was like, I know they're not adding a new weapon class into this game.
It looks like it, though.
But they could, like, very easily just add that.
That thing, it's a 900 RPM, so it's just like, and it's instantly out. Like, you have to reload so often, but you're carrying like 800 rounds for this gun. I was like, it doesn't feel like I'm really doing anything with it, so it's probably not that great, but it's really fun. I'm going to lock that roll, throw it in my vault. I'm enjoying. I was really hoping Hung Jury was the first Nightfall weapon, and alas, it was not. I'm holding out hope that it's next week's, and I don't think it's going to be. I think it's going to be the heavy next week, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Just because I think Bungie wants to really give me the finger in particular right now. But this fusion from D1, plug 1, I'm digging it. I really like this fusion.
Yeah?
So I'm running it with Feeding Frenzy and Backup Plan. Corey, that thing is reloaded before the mag is even out of the gun, I think.
Wow.
It's just like, it's like, okay, like I have a handling masterwork. I'm gonna slap, I'm gonna slap a reload perk onto it or something. Like, this is awesome. Or like Rampage. This is great.
That's awesome.
I really like it. I'm not a big Legendary Fusion guy, just because I think that the exotics are far outclassing it. But there's a couple of them that can roll with a few perks that basically make them Loaded Question 2.0. It's awesome. The armor aesthetic is really cool, whether it's the ornaments or it's the Fallen themed armor. Titans literally have a shank for a helmet.
Yeah, that's cool.
It's weird.
Yeah.
Like, the Warlocks look like they're wearing, like, Night's Watch robes from Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
All the fur, like, that's really cool. Hey, welcome to the Fur Club, guys. I have furry capes that make me look like I'm part of House Stark. It's awesome. This is what I want to see in a season, though, in terms of loot.
Yeah.
It's only, like, day 2 or 3, and I haven't seen every weapon. There's so many. I haven't even seen half of the weapons that you can get from Future War Cult or from the season. Like, the seasonal weapons seem to only drop from overrides and from Umbral Ingrams, which is really cool. I'm not just getting them. I'm not getting a million threaded needles from every activity I do. Like last season, that stupid goddamn linear fusion rifle. I'm so tired of seeing it. Nothing has done that for me yet, except I have gotten 1.5 million sidearms, I think.
Yeah.
It's just really cool. I mean, there's so many different perks that you just want to play around with this stuff. God, I think I had another new perk somewhere. I don't have it on here anymore, but the new auto rifle is a 750. That thing fires like no tomorrow.
I'll be using that.
Dude, these things look so cool. Just all the weapons look really, really good. Kudos to the design team and to the perk team. I think the perks are really cool. And again, it just keeps coming back to, it's a shame that we're all fixated on the bad stuff right now, because that really is like a small part of the season in terms of the transmog, not in terms of the PvP and stasis. But that PvE and the narrative team, the design team, whoever's designing these seasonal arenas, they are all just killing it, and everything else is real bad.
It's a shame that the initial impressions are just bad, because like a lot of the stuff, I feel like the season is going to be another banger in a lot of ways.
I mean, so I will say, like, to anybody that's like being objective about this, they know, like, hey, this season's a banger so far. Like, right out of the gate, this seems really, really good in terms of story, in terms of lore. We're going to get into the lore here in just a minute, some of the weapon lore, but it's a shame that one very bad decision can overshadow that. And I really hate that. So one of the things I don't like about this community is how we overreact to a lot of stuff. But in this case, I don't think that we are overreacting. I think it's completely justified that people are upset about PvP and about stasis and about transmog. Like, these are the things that we need to be bringing up to Bungie.
Especially the Stasis. Like, I mean, the transmog, it's new. They'll probably adjust some things in the near future, right? Like, they usually introduce something and then
have to walk it back.
Yeah. I mean, look at sunsetting, for example. Like that.
That's what I keep pointing at, too. It's like, okay, so we had to suffer through a whole season of it. Like, they probably won't do a change for transmog this season just because it won't be a priority.
Yeah.
But season, like, I'd be shocked if we got into next season and didn't have a fix on the way for it.
Yeah.
Even if it doesn't deploy next season, maybe because it's so ultra long, like, okay, once we have the season out the door and the seasonal story wraps, here you go. We were able to throw this out halfway through as, like, a Festival of the Lost update or something.
Yeah.
One other thing that I noticed a lot of people are very upset about is Eververse right now.
Yeah, some people were mad today. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but some people were mad today that there's like a vault emote that's like paywall behind silver.
I wasn't sighing at you. I was sighing at the people upset about Eververse.
No.
Yeah, so there were two things data mined for Eververse. One was data mined the day that the season came out, and it was you have to complete the Vault of Glass to be able to buy something from Eververse. And it's 2 shaders and 3 transmog tokens. I think it's like 400 or 500 silver, which is still, that's like basically the price of buying 2 tokens, not even 2 tokens. That's still cheaper than buying 2 tokens on their own. Whatever, they clearly want to be seen as a value. You can only buy it once, et cetera, et cetera. I wasn't really bothered by that because I like shaders anyway. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to be part of the problem and probably buy that. $5, I don't mind doing it. I'm going to play Vault a lot. The one that people are really mad about, though, is there's a Vault emote for Atheon's Throne that is actually listed on the website. If you go to the page for Season of the Splicer, it is listed there. And they kind of stealth snuck it in while the servers were going haywire on launch day. Nobody realized it. It took a couple days to pick up on it. But I confirm for myself it is listed there. Throne of Atheon emote bundle. Purchase the Throne of Atheon emote bundle and receive Throne of Atheon exotic emote along with 1,100 silver, 1,000 plus 100 bonus silver, which you can use to purchase seasons, cosmetics, and more. Now, that being said, this emote looks really cool. We can't see it in action, but the image of it looks really cool. I'm going to continue to be part of the problem and probably buy this. People went back to Luke Smith's comments last spring that he made where he says, we've heard you, no longer are we going to do ships, sparrows, ghosts, or weapon ornaments that are tied to trials or other endgame trials, dungeons, raids, etc. Emotes and shaders were the 2 things that were not on there, and sure enough, they are the 2 things that are going to be in the shop for Vault. That is the one part that rubs me the wrong way. Is it's walking a very thin line. I would love to be able to earn this emote from like the master version of the raid, honestly.
Or like if you put if you turn the challenge mode on or whatever, and you got it from that, right? Like that would be like, along with the like a banner or something, you could use the emote too from that.
Yeah, I think it would be really cool because when you look at, for example, the luxurious toast emote was tied to Spire of Stars for so long. When you have that, I think that proves you can have an exotic emote as a drop from the boss. And that's where I really think that this should have been. And of course, I know they're going to be like, well, why wouldn't we sell this? Because you're going to have the nostalgic people from Destiny 1 like me who are like, I need this. I need this really badly. And I am actually in a position where I need to buy more silver anyways because I'm out. I buy 1 pack of silver. I buy about $30 worth of silver a year, and I spend it over the course of that year. I'm going to end up buying this. And I really hate myself for being part of the problem. But goddamn, do I want it.
I don't like it. But I'll do it.
I don't like it. I'm definitely going to do it, and I'm going to complain about it until it's in my hands, and then I'm probably going to complain some more. Like it's the meme of the guy riding the bike, and he takes the metal bar and puts it between his wheels and goes, "Damn you for making me do this." That's about how I feel right now. I'm not happy about it, but I'm going to do it anyways. Yes, please feel free to write in and tell me how I am part of the problem. I There's other stuff in Eververse. Like, I'm not going to be spending any money this season. I'm really happy. Like, even Bright Dust, I'm only going to be spending it on weapon ornaments. I don't want a fucking sweater for my hunt.
I looked through the Eververse and I was like, man, who designed some of this stuff? Like, who designed the cool borders outfit for the Titan, right? With the green puffy jacket and the gray snowboarding pants.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, who, why?
I think that some of this is just so funny.
Oh, man. Like, man.
I'm okay with it. I think this is great.
I mean, I think the sweater for the Hunter is cooler than what the stuff they did for the Titan. The Titan stuff always is bad.
The Titan stuff looks like you're about ready to go to, like, the Saved by the Bell reunion show or something.
Yeah. And then
it looks real bad.
It's either that or I'm cosplaying to play an extra in Assassin's Creed Valhalla somewhere. Right? Like, those are the two things I get from the Titan things. Is like, oh, I'm gonna.
It's not great. Something I am enjoying though, like when we're talking about loot, like I broke down those Black Armory pieces of armor, and let me tell you something. I was missing 3 Black Armory shaders. I got all 3 of those in a row from dismantling that armor. I'm so happy that after years, I finally have all of the Forge cosmetics. It's great. Finally. I finally have all those fucking shaders. So many people missed out on Blacksmith because they couldn't get the shaders to drop.
Right.
And so, like, I mean, people everyone's like, pull one out, because if that's the last thing you needed, you can never get it now because they sunset all those titles. Well. And so you had to know this was coming.
Yeah.
I suspect Black Armory weapons are probably coming back sooner rather than later.
Yeah. Which would be good because
if that happens, it's Blast Furnace time all the time, baby.
Dude, I love the heavy machine gun and the assault rifle from Black Armory.
Oh, dude, everybody loved Hammerhead.
Yeah, Hammerhead was awesome.
Joe's been using the LMG from this season. He got it to drop, and he likes it so far. So I'm excited to see how that goes. I'm really liking a lot of what you got here. I think the stuff in the season pass is cool. The finisher is you summoning that gauntlet and punching the enemy in the face with it.
Yeah, that's cool.
The little Vex gauntlet. We'll talk about the sidearm another time. I don't want to talk about the sidearm. I don't like.
It's not great.
Well, and
I mean, you brought this up before we started recording, but you said it's probably the catalyst will probably make it viable at some point. But as of right now, it's
probably. I like the armor ornaments you get. What is it? There's an emote. Oh, it's just an emote where you pull your pistol out and you cock it.
Mm-hmm.
It looks more like a sidearm. It looks almost exactly like Fool's Remedy. Absorbing the ether, and it's like you got like all this power going into you, and you're glowing. That's cool. It looks like really Dragon Ball Z-esque. I do like the ornament for the sidearm, and we got rid of some of the stuff that you just weren't using.
Yeah.
There's a lot more enhancement core or upgrade modules in the season pass this time around.
Holy cow! Holy upgrade module.
You can get 25 total because you're still getting some upgrade modules at like level 40 something on the pass.
Yeah.
For the paid track. I like that. These are no-brainer decisions. I'd rather have that than Glimmer.
Yeah.
You know, considering how much they cost me to buy. Like, I know a lot of people are like, I want more golf balls, I want more prisms. Like, well, I'm maxed out on those, so I'm going to be selfish, and I want something that doesn't have a cap on it. I mean, I'm sitting here with almost 2 full stacks of enhancement cores, for God's sake.
Well,
like, I've got a lot. I'm willy-nilly upgrading armor for the first time in Destiny 2, and it's a weird feeling. But, Corey, why don't you say we go to the lore corner?
Yeah, lore corner.
Lore corner, baby. Lore corner. It's gonna be a little bit different this week.
Is it about the baby fallen?
It is not about the baby fallen. I'm actually not going to go in on the fallen stuff. If you haven't gone to the Elixir Quarter yet and scanned absolutely everything in the camp, you should do that.
Mm-hmm.
The scribe who is talking to you, his name is Sidger, And Sigir Ido, was the wielder of the Wishender bow. In Awoken lore. Well, Mithrax met her at one point and was so impressed by her that one of the fallen aides to him is named after her. Mm-hmm. And it's also thought that's where, because they don't pronounce his name as Mithrax, they pronounce it as Mithraxes or something like that. Mm-hmm. Mithraxis, something along those lines. We call him Mithrax, and it's largely thought it's because of how we interpret it from Sigir. Mm-hmm. So some of this we're gonna go in on a lot of like the relationship between the Guardians and the Fallen as the season progresses. I want to watch that storyline play out before we really get into it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I think there's going to be a lot more that we're going to find out. Basically, they see us as monsters. The way that we've always seen the Fallen as monsters, they see us. Like, they have paintings, like little wards that they've painted on the walls that they tell the little baby Fallen, the hatchlings, that keeps the Guardians away. The Guardians won't come in and kill them if those are on their walls. And it's just, you realize like how barbaric we seem to them. We're chastised with Sigir. She says that if the Fallen had the light, that if House Light had ghosts, they wouldn't use them for things like essentially fucking around in the Crucible and, being stupid, doing sparrow racing, things like that. They'd be using it to serve the Traveler and to better their kind. And it's very stark to see how they revere the light versus how we've kind of just, like, we take it for granted. Even after Cade, we still take it for granted. We're out here fucking around with Stasis and with the darkness and don't realize how good we really have it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, some of the dialogue in at least the initial, I keep wanting to call it Battleground, Override. You hear Lakshmi, Osiris, Mithrax, Ikora, and Saint all talking at various different points in these, and it's like the Battlegrounds, and it's like Arrivals and Wrathborn hunts and all that. Kind of, it's randomized who you get, but the dialogue is based on like when this was unlocked in the story and where we're at in the seasonal narrative. Saint 14 is not hunky-dory with them, but he's been made the ambassador from the Vanguard to the Fallen, partially to get him over his prejudices.
Yeah.
I think that's really fascinating. It took this guy he's the bane of the Fallen, essentially. This is a guy who killed hundreds of thousands of them.
Right.
He hates the Fallen.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating to see that. So we're going to get into some of these items. We're going to leave some of these for later on in the season. Because, again, I want to see how some of these storylines develop. Mm-hmm. Because, as we all know, sometimes items can kind of give us a hint as to where the story is going for a season. And I want a little bit more context before I start throwing some of these out here, especially like from the future War Cult weapons, for example. We are going to... I'm picking. I have a list here pulled up. I'm trying to decide which ones I want to do right now.
Ooh, Josh has a list.
Josh has a list. We're gonna do 3 this week, I think. I'm trying to pick the third one now. Man, they're all just so good. Oh man, I'm trying to do ones that like I've specifically gotten the weapons or the armor from, so that I don't be like, oh yeah, I just went and looked all this up on Ishtar, which is where I'm going to read it from. But still, here we go. All right, so we've got 3. The first one we're going to do is Borrowed Time. It's the new Gambit SMG. So yeah, we're doing okay on time, right?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay.
I don't have anywhere to be until 4:30, Josh.
All right. So it's called Borrowed Time. It's the Gambit SMG this season. Give a little, but take a little more. The Drifter. The Drifter smelled trouble the moment he entered the bar. His first instinct was to turn around and leave, but he noticed a hooded figure standing nervously nearby, conspicuously inconspicuous. Their hooded cloak was pulled low over their face, but they leaned to the side, intent on catching every angry shout from the crowd of locals in the corner. "Tell what's-his-name to take it easy," Drifter grumbled as he walked by. "I'll handle this." Take it easy, parroted a polite voice from somewhere under the figure's cloak. I heard him, sighed the figure, but there was relief in his voice. As Drifter pushed into the crowd, he noted who was armed, who was shouting, and who was doing both. Most seemed to fit into the final category. He smiled. History had taught him the quiet ones were always the most dangerous. He reached the center of the tight knot and found 3 Eliksni sitting at a table, trying to ignore the crowd around them. Undaunted, he pushed his way onto the chair arm of the biggest Eliksni like a feral cat. The Eliksni growled, but Drifter tossed a trust into the center of the table with a heavy thud. Drifter turned towards the crowd. What's got you fine folk all riled up tonight? Take it you don't listen to the radio much, someone said, and the crowd laughed. Places I like tend to have bad reception, Drifter replied. Tell me what I missed. The group all spoke at once. A cacophony of accusations. Oh, cried the Drifter. Seems like some of you have been spending too much time staring at that fake knight. He turned to the Eliksni. Now, somewhere in this commotion, I think I heard shouting of missing equipment, so I gotta ask, he said. You fellows been taking what don't belong to you? The big Eliksni spoke. His voice was deep and steady. We had confusions with your people. Where was self-supply and where was all supply, he shrugged. We learned and we compensated. Drifter nodded. Makes sense for settling into a new place. Ain't a soul here who hasn't checked their neighbor's tool shed for spare SMG parts. A voice spoke, hey, I'm missing an SMG, but Drifter held up a hand. And I don't want to hear they caught any blame for the big night. I swear, it's like some folks' brains just wilt in the dark. I know Mithrax is working with the Vanguard to figure out this whole Vex thing, he said. The Eliksni seemed to relax a bit, but Drifter held up a finger. I do have one question of my own, he said. We've been fighting for a long time, your folk and mine. That's no secret. Plenty of blood spilled on both sides over the years. But I hear stories some of you fellows from the old days caught the hunger. The big Eliksni shifted tensely in his seat as the crowd pressed in. Drifter leaned in closer, his voice gravelly. Nasty rumor even says you guys chomped on the occasional toddler. The Eliksni pushed his chair back and lunged to his feet as the crowd gasped. Drifter stood his ground, somehow staring down the Eliksni that was a full meter taller than him. Never you're young, the Eliksni boomed. Never. Drifter nodded, but the rest? The Eliksni looked at the crowd, then brought his massive head close to Drifter. His voice was steady. We old ones. We who have been fighting since the beginning. Yes. We sometimes took your dead fighters so that we could live. It was war, he said, and poked at Drifter's chest with a clawed finger. And you are made of meat. Drifter smiled. I hear you, brother, he said, and looked at the Eliksni's claw. Hell, you point that thing at me, all I can think about is how good it tastes with garlic butter. Mmm. He leaned toward the looming creature and ran his tongue over his chapped lips. The Eliksni sized up the tiny man, then dropped his shoulders. But as I say, that was a long time ago, he said. We are house light now and forevermore. We have peace with your people. Drifter reached up and patted the Eliksni's chest. That's right, he said, and the Eliksni sat down. And though it don't erase the bad old days, he said as he turned to the crowd, that don't mean it's time to bring 'em back. A dissatisfied grumble rose from the crowd. The fight had gone out of them. The Eliksni shrugged. Mithrax says we are never to eat people again, he said quietly. Drifter nodded. Yeah, Zavala tells me the same damn thing. The Eliksni burst into coughing laughter. The Drifter laughed back, picked up his gun from the table, and waved the crowd away as he pulled over an empty seat. Now make room, he said. These fellows were just about to lose at cards. I think getting lore like this is so important to the world building because this is stuff that would not fit well in the actual game, like in cutscenes or anything.
Yeah.
But it humanizes the Drifter a lot, I think. Like, Drifter's quietly become one of the best written characters in the whole series. And definitely one of the most intriguing. Like, this is absolutely in line with his code of ethics. Like, he's the guy, he plays both sides, but he'll give anybody a chance.
Yeah.
He'll ally with anybody if it suits his needs. And I very much envision Crow one day being kind of the same. Not in a bad way, but I envision Crow being very trustful, like like Drifter.
Yeah.
And I think that this is really cool. You know, these are civilians that are reacting. These aren't even Guardians that he's, getting calmed down. These are normal people who are terrified. And, rightfully so. For so long, the Fallen have been attacking the walls of the city. You have things like Twilight Gap that have happened and whatnot. And the Battle of Six Fronts. And so all they've ever heard is that, the Fallen are monsters, that all these alien races are monsters. Now Zavala's allying with the Cabal. The Vex have taken over our city. Like, what the fuck's going on? And now all of a sudden we have all these aliens just living and roaming in our city.
Yeah.
Patches flying in and out. Like, what on earth is happening? But I think when you have something like that, that really serves to humanize these characters. And speaking of humanizing characters, we're going to move to another tower denizen that we all love, Lord Shaxx.
Lord Shaxx.
This is Survivor's Epitaph, the Crucible hand cannon for this season. A weapon hides nothing. It is what it is, whether it wants to be or not. Saint 14 to Lord Shaxx. To be the first Elixni to bask in the presence of the Traveler since the Whirlwind was an honor that Mithrax, Kell of House Light, never imagined for himself. As he stood on the tower walkway below the scar left in the wake of the Almighty, he meditated on the choices in his life that had led to this point. He wondered if there was a unifying thread binding all these events together, but he would have no time to ponder such things. A shadow crept over Mithrax, broad shoulders and a curling horn. Seeing the stark outline of Lord Shaxx looming on the stairs elicited centuries-old instincts, and it was temperance that kept Mithrax's hands from his weapon. "I didn't expect to actually find you here," Shaxx said as he continued down the stairs with slow, plodding steps. "Were you there?" "What?" Shaxx came to stand beside Mithrax at the railing. "Were you there?" he asked again. This time he pointed without looking to a place on the horizon beyond the Traveler. Mithrax followed Shaxx's gesture with his eyes. He did not understand. "The Battle of Six Fronts," Shaxx insisted with uncharacteristic softness. "Do you know how many Fallen I killed there?" Mithrax bristled at the question, and he felt the instinctual urge to reach for his weapon again, but the presence of the Traveler and the question that nagged at the back of his mind stayed his hands. "How many?" he asked, not wanting to know the answer. Shaxx deflated, folding his arms over the rail, and rested his considerable weight against it. "Hundreds," he said quietly. "All of them died afraid." Mithrax felt ether mixing with bile in the back of his throat. His limbs trembled. Rage burned in his gut, demanding manifestation. But he tempered his anger, sighed so deep that the ether on his breath was briefly visible as an iridescent cloud. "How many humans have you killed?" Shaxx wondered. "Too many," Mithrax answered, and even that felt insufficient on his tongue. The thought of it twisted his insides around. He sighed again deeper this time, and Shaxx watched the sublimated ether glitter in the dim light. "When I heard you were in the tower," Shaxx said, "I thought I'd just throw you over the edge of the wall. I thought about the people I watched die at the hands of your houses over the years, the lightless torn limb from limb during the Dark Age." He snorted out a rueful laugh. "Then I started to think about them." Silence hung in the air for a moment, long enough for Mithrax to ask, "Who?" 3 scavengers, huddled together in a collapsed storm drain. They had stolen food during a time of famine. Maybe it was for themselves, maybe another settlement, maybe family, Shaxx shrugged. "I killed them, all 3 with my bare hands." "My victims were humans," Shaxx clarified, and the Kell felt his anger twist into confusion. "I was a warlord in the Dark Age, convinced myself of the necessity of my own barbarism by painting it with noble colors. Those loyal to me built a legend that masked the blood and the rot, but it's still there." He tapped his fingers against his breastplate, deep down. The shadows become long stars, now visible in the sky, and the Traveler was cast in half shadow. "There is a ship," Mithrax eventually replied. "It may have been soldiers, civilians, I do not know." He looked away from the Traveler as he spoke. "I led a boarding party onto it. We slaughtered any who resisted and rounded up those who surrendered." Shaxx turned to look at Mithrax, a wordless question in his faceless mask. "We argued what to do with the prisoners. Some suggested we keep them as warning trophies. Others said to barter with them." Mithrax looked away, shoulders sagged. "But I was young and impatient." He closed his eyes. "I opened the airlock. It seemed the simplest solution." Both soldiers sank into silence again and remained so as the last glimpse of sunlight descended beyond the horizon. Shaxx sullenly took his leave, and Mithrax was left with the remnants of anger and confusion, and paradoxically an answer. He saw then the thread of choices leading to this moment, the choices that led to the great machine and away from a fate like Aramis had suffered. It was something both he and Shaxx learned to accept in spite of a lifetime of experience telling them otherwise. Mercy. This is one of the most somber lore pieces I think that I've read in a very long time in this game. That's not directly in a lore book. That's simply for a weapon that you can pick up.
Yeah.
We talk about humanizing these characters, and Shaxx is a character that I've routinely criticized the narrative team for not doing enough with. Mm-hmm. He never had a hand in the seasonal events. He did nothing in the Red War. Like, Lord fucking Shaxx did nothing in the Red War. Let that sink in for a minute.
Yeah. I mean, like, for everything you hear about Shaxx and, like, you know, like Twilight Gap and Six Fronts and all these things that, and even, like, what you just read, he's a warlord of legend, and like, I don't even think in Destiny 1 he really did anything.
No, this is the curse of having. If I can deviate from the lore for a second, this is the curse of having celebrity actors voice your characters. Shaxx is voiced by Lenny James. For those of you who don't know who Lenny James is, Lenny James was Morgan on The Walking Dead. When he was cast as Shaxx, Morgan had only been a guest star on The Walking Dead. He wasn't yet a main cast member. He'd only been in the pilot and in one other episode in season 3. He becomes a main character, right? He became a main character maybe a year before Destiny 2 came out, during Rise of Iron, I think. And continued on that, and then Fear the Walking Dead. And he's done a lot of other things since. Gina Torres was quietly recast this season. She still voices Ikora in some of the cutscenes, but it's very clearly not her talking in the missions or in the tower, etc.
You can tell when they when she patches in through the ghost with a little bit of the filter on it, kind of masks it, but you can totally tell.
And I think you're going to be better for it. I think the voice matches Ikora a little bit better.
Yeah.
It's the same change as like with Ana Bray. It feels a little bit more natural now.
Yeah.
But I think that Shaxx is probably the next one that it's coming for. I think they've realized it's probably too expensive keeping these people on retain to never record. When's the last time we got new Shaxx dialogue? Maybe Forsaken.
Yeah.
He's still saying stuff from the Red War. All reports are saying all hell is broken loose in the EDZ. Yeah. The EDZ needs our help, Guardian. Shut the fuck up, Shaxx. I already saved the EDZ 4 years ago. It's frustrating for a game that otherwise I think is really developed considerably in terms of dialogue.
The other thing too is I feel like I know that they had the Activision budget at that point to cast real actors or whatever, but not real actors, you know what I mean? But I feel like if you cast
bigger
names, thank you. Yeah. And I feel like if you get voice actors who are dedicated to the voice aspect of it and not, you know what I mean? Because they're not signing up for other bigger projects, right? This is what they do. This is their job, right? And as a bigger named actor, their job is to go act on TV or in movies or whatever, and then this is a side gig or something. You know what I mean?
Right. It's becoming increasingly clear that really only 2 of the bigger names ever really took this that seriously. And that is Lance Reddick. And I mean, Lance was woefully underused until about a year ago.
Yeah.
Year and a half ago is when they really started using Lance. It was him and Nathan Fillion were the only ones they really used. And I mean, if you're going to use 2 people, let's be frank.
Yeah,
they're probably the 2 you're going to use. But it's clear Gina Torres probably dipped out a while ago and has just been unable to record dialogue, and that's okay. I don't think any of these actors are really crying over spilled milk. They probably want somebody who can do just as good of a job, but who actually cares about this franchise to do it. There's a difference with Lance versus Gina Torres, and it's not that Gina's a bad actress or anything. Gina's a great actress. I love Gina Torres. It's that Lance plays the game. Lance is involved in the community. He's always retweeting fan art. He puts messages up. He shows videos of him playing. He got involved in all the Guardian game shtick without having to be bribed or paid or anything like that.
Right.
And it was funny, even Crow and Glint got in on it, which I loved. That was hilarious if you haven't seen that video.
Yeah.
Brendan O'Neill got in on it, and it was pretty great. They did a Zoom call together, both for Hunter motivation and then when the Hunters actually sealed it. And he spoke all in character. It was great. I enjoyed it. But I think that that's getting to the point where we need to have, when we have stories like this, and we know that Shaxx is being subtly influenced by the Ahamkara skull above him, we're being deprived of some really great storylines, I think, involving Shaxx and Saladin specifically.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's why, like, they started killing characters off too. Like, I mean, not that it didn't, like, the speaker, right, was Bill Nighy, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Well, you're not going to keep him on retainer, right? He just, he's probably got another Underworld.
We actually got some stuff with him in Destiny too.
Yeah. But, we saw it again in Forsaken when Nolan North took over Nathan Fillion because he's went off to do his TV show, right? Like, I mean, we saw that. I mean, I know that's not real. Maybe that's why they killed Cade. I don't know.
I mean, we went from Peter Dinklage to, well, part of it was the cost, but also I think just Nathan Fillion's schedule simply didn't work for them anymore.
Yeah.
That guy was easily the busiest one they had besides Bill Nighy, I think, and even Lenny James. Like, Lenny James has been he was a mainstay on The Walking Dead. He did a few other miniseries where he was in like every episode, and he's done just as long of a stint on Fear the Walking Dead. He's got a show that he's the creator, director, writer, and star of. This is a guy who's super busy. And I think that doing lines for Shaxx is probably in the back of his mind right now.
Yeah.
But I mean, you look at some of these other ones, like, we moved on from Peter Dinklage to Nolan North really quickly. And that was for the best. I love Dinklebot, but Peter Dinklage, I don't think, was going to be in this for 10 years. I don't think he knew that when he signed up for it.
Yeah.
Nor did they anticipate Game of Thrones blowing up the way that it did.
Right.
And him being this award-winning actor and all this and that. Like, if Game of Thrones doesn't blow up, I suspect Peter Dinklage probably stays with it, and it's probably a whole lot cheaper to keep him.
Yeah.
And again, like you said, they don't have that. They don't have the Activision budget anymore either. You look at some of the others, and it's like it's a lot of people that we know from other voice roles. That some of these more minor characters. Yeah, Courtney Taylor is in it. Moira Quirk. I don't know. There's a lot of Claudia Black is in it. There's a lot of other people.
Yeah.
But that also kind of underscores why our Guardian also doesn't speak very often.
Mm-hmm.
How often are you going to get Matt Mercer to come in and record dialogue for the male hunter every season? Right. You're not. Yeah. You're not going to get him in there. You're not going to get. I don't think you're going to get John Benjamin to come in and do the radio. You're not going to get a lot of people like this. Like, that's why they killed Sakirov, Morena Baccarin.
Mm-hmm.
They're not paying for Morena Baccarin. Yeah, they recast Anna Bray. Used to be Jamie Chung. They recast her.
Yeah.
It's not, and it's not. None of this is shocking.
Yeah. No.
It is what it is, for better or for worse.
It makes sense, especially if they're planning on this game going on another 5-10 years at least, right? Like, I mean, you're not going to keep these people around forever.
And it opens up to keep them for if you want to expand it into, like we've said, like an animated series or an anime or something.
Yeah.
Into other ones. I mean, God, I would love a live action Destiny short with Lance Reddick and that blue fucking makeup.
I know. Wouldn't that be awesome?
If I don't get Lance Reddick playing a live action Zavala, we have been robbed.
I know.
This is open for nothing.
Look, I wouldn't even mind if they went back to those live action trailers that they did for like original Destiny and Taken King with Lance Reddick.
So okay with that.
Yeah. I think that'd be awesome.
Well, we got one more lore piece to get to tonight.
All right,
I'm very excited about this one. This kind of fills in some questions we had following the events of last season. This is kind of an addendum to Season of the Chosen. It's called Empty Vessel. This is the Vanguard grenade launcher. So we've gone through the three new weapons for this season because it's the stuff that doesn't deal quite with the season. We want to do that as we go along with the lore books, but it's versatile. By itself, it's nothing, just an empty tube. But that's deceptive beauty. It's all about what you fill it with, what you make it do. Banshee 44. Armored boots clank down the metal stairs as Lord Saladin descends the catwalks between the central tower. The bazaar is otherwise quiet, giving him time to contemplate the strategy needed for his impending diplomatic liaison. I demand a place in the decision-making for... Saladin trails off in thought as he walks. I request addition to your council for... He grunts, shaking his head. Commander, I'm concerned about your inclusion of future war cult in... A grumble. None of it sounds right. Saladin paused to look out over the city. The streets are hidden behind a shimmering pall of digital fog. He closed his eyes, shaked his head, and takes a moment to compose himself. There are no sounds of fighting here. No gunshots, no screams. Those exist only in his mind. Zavala, I would like to speak to you as a friend. Saladin tries again, then opens his eyes to the traveler with an affirming nod. You'll have to speak a little louder if you'd like the commander to hear you. The sudden intrusion of a voice not his own wheels Saladin around, catching Osiris uncomfortably close behind him. Saladin's expression shifts from shock to embarrassment, concealed beneath a mask of frustration. It's unbecoming of you to eavesdrop, warlock. Please, Osiris dismisses, slowly approaching Saladin. Anyone with an ear could hear you mumbling to yourself. I just happened to comment on it. He gestures with an open hand, then clasps both behind his back. I have a meeting to attend, Saladin insists, turning to make an abrupt exit. Osiris sidesteps, getting between Saladin and the stairs, and elicits an immediate look of challenge from the Iron Lord. Osiris mindfully raises both his hands. Please, Lord Saladin. A moment? Saladin crosses his arms over his chest. Impatience shows a crease in his brow. Now may not be the best time if you're hoping to find an ally in the commander, Osiris explains, as he places a guiding hand on Saladin's elbow, drawing him away from the main walkway. Commander Zavala is under considerable stress at the moment, Osiris continues. While you might see your presence as a reinforcing one. He raises his brows, glancing sidelong at Saladin. You may not be correct in that assertion. Stop talking in circles. Saladin planted his feet. What is it you're getting at? When was the last time you... To put it as you did earlier, eavesdropped. Saladin rankles. I do not eavesdrop, he growls. Then perhaps that is why you do not realize what the overall opinion of your actions are in the eyes of other guardians. Osiris's tone is gentle and apologetic. Measured. It conveys an obvious tone. This news is bad, and he hates to be the bearer of bad news. Saladin is quiet. Osiris sees the lack of outward defiance as a foothold. He digs in. Many are without our shared convictions, have questioned your leadership decisions during the recent crisis with Empress Keitel. Osiris dips his head in close to Saladin, voice hushed as if to share a secret. Others suggest that it was you who ordered the assassination attempt on the commander. An Iron Lord would never, Saladin says with a quiver in his voice. I am not, I know. Osiris is quick to softly interject, but not everyone knows you like I do. They make well-articulated and convincing arguments based off of your very vocal stance against an armistice with the Cabal. Closing his eyes, Saladin draws in a slow and calming breath. The sounds of gunfire, shouts, and screams are louder now than ever before. Or maybe it's the blood pounding in his ears. All the more reason for me to set the record straight. Is that what you came to the city for? To set a record straight? Osiris presses. Just a moment ago, it sounded to me like you wished to ask for a place in Zavala's inner circle. How do you think that might look? Saladin looks in the direction of Zavala's office, hands curling in the fists. Lakshmi, too, is... Let me handle Lakshmi, Osiris insists, once more reaching out a hand for Saladin's arm. This time, the Iron Lord doesn't pull away. Fight the battles you know you can win, Lord Saladin. I know how to handle her. There may come a time when your strength will be needed again, but that time's not now. Saladin looks sharply to Osiris. A rebuttal forms behind his lips, but is never spoken aloud. He lets his head hang. Thank you, Osiris, Saladin says with a heavy heart, conviction flagging. You are a true friend. I find this very curious. Mm-hmm. That Osiris is preventing Saladin from reconciling with Zavala. Because Zavala, Shaxx, and Saladin famously do not get along. Mm-hmm. They haven't since Twilight Gap. And for Saladin to be the one making the move to go and try and reconcile with Zavala is a gigantic step towards mending that. It's kind of been hinted that Zavala wants to, and he is on better terms with Shaxx than he is with Saladin. Yeah, Saladin historically separated from the other Titans. Yeah, I'm an Iron Lord. Yeah. Shut the fuck up. Nobody cares. You're all dead anyways. It's like him and us are the only ones left.
And what, Aphrodite? Is she
Aphrodite is
hanging
fucking
out
off somewhere? Yeah, she's fucking around somewhere. We don't even know where she is right now. She's been missing since Rise of Iron.
She doesn't care about the Titan drama. She's off snowboarding on the mountain. That's why that Titan thing exists in Eververse.
I do wonder if this hints towards something happening to Saladin.
Yeah.
With him being brought into the main narrative, again, another character that has never been part of the main narrative, suddenly was brought in during Chosen.
Yeah.
And in kind of a big way. He was one of the people who was really talking to us through that war table, and he had a very notably different stance than Osiris did on all of this.
Yeah.
Than Osiris and Zavala. And for him to want to be part of Zavala's inner circle, because you figure Zavala's inner circle is likely, it's him, Ikora, they've brought Osiris into it. One could wager they might be consulting Shaxx and Saint at this point. But they're probably on the outside looking in. For Saladin to be wanting a seat at the table is pretty major. But it's clear Osiris wants to keep them separated. For what end, I don't know. But I don't feel like this is the Osiris that we've come to know. I'm wondering if something really did happen to him. Because remember, we got all that lore about him before Beyond Light dropped, including where he went out to where the pyramid ships were. And when he came back to his ship, he was noted by Sagira to be different.
Yeah. Oh, something had to have happened to him. Like maybe he got corrupted a little bit by the darkness or something. Or maybe he's just scared now because his ghost is gone.
I definitely think that losing Sagira affected him a lot more than he's let on.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to cause him to act a little reckless eventually.
Yeah.
It's clear that Osiris is a major part of this whole year's storyline.
Yeah.
Between Hunt, Chosen, and now Splicer.
And bringing Crow into the fold.
Yep.
That was a huge story moment. And I wonder if Osiris is prepping Crow to be I know we've been kind of talking about this for a long time, but Crow being the Hunter Vanguard and Osiris kind of sacrificing himself to save Crow so he can take over at some point.
I'm curious as well if that'll happen. Or if Osiris is just going to flat out embrace the darkness at some point.
Yeah.
I do feel like that is probably coming sooner rather than later, just to have powers again.
Yeah,
because he was one of the most powerful guardians to ever live, if not the most powerful. And even he lost his light to Xivu Arath's knights.
And even the Vex being part of this storyline, right? This season storyline, he's so obsessed with the Vex, and I wonder if at the end of the last season of the expansion, he's just gonna sacrifice himself to stop a Vex simulation or something.
I think that if Osiris dies, it's going to be because I do think that they're going to start trimming the ranks of our supporting characters now that everybody's kind of getting
so many now. There are so many.
I think they want to curate it, especially if you really are going for an Avengers Assemble moment. Savathun is going to be probably when that happens, and we still know there's 2 expansions after that. I was talking about this last night, and I really think with us aligning with at least the House of Light and Mithrax desperately trying to bring the rest of the Fallen under his banner. And Keitel trying to get the remnants of the Cabal, because they're near extinction as well, to come under her banner and be allies with the city. Well, tentatively allies with the city. I think she'll fully turn on us the second Savathun is beaten.
Yeah. You think Savathun's going to survive the Witch Queen expansion?
Oh, God, no. I think what's going to happen is we're going to find out the real power behind the Hive and behind Savathun. I think they introduced the Veil in that raid. Or in the storyline.
Yeah.
I think you have to introduce them as the final enemies, because why else would you need 2 more expansions?
Yeah, what if it's the last season leading into Lightfall, they introduce them, kind of like they did with the pyramids?
I think it's got to come before then. I think we're going to start getting teases before Savathun.
You think?
I think so, because otherwise you've got another entire expansion of just Hive and Taken enemies. And Vex. You've got to have something else to kind of sustain you, and that can be part of the mystery for the next year. Because it's clear they want to do big lore events in these seasons now. It's not just, oh, there's going to be some background stuff. Go read up on it and a little fun event to do. Like, no, they're doing major story beats. Zavala almost got assassinated. We aligned with Callus's daughter after proving ourselves to her. Mm-hmm. We've got a Vex simulation taking over the city right now. The future war cult is here for the first time ever in the actual storyline. Mm-hmm. We've got Fallen in the city. We've got Mithrax. I thought Mithrax would be introduced in an expansion. I didn't think he was coming in a season.
Yeah.
That shocked me. That when he didn't come in Beyond Light, I was surprised. I was like, I thought that this was a given.
I almost feel like almost feel like this season, like so far and last season, are bigger storylines than the Beyond Light main campaign expansion almost, or at least on that level.
I think to a degree they are, because we may not have had like this massive enemy, but what Aramis attempted to do in Beyond Light actually does have a lot of significance in the lore. That was one of the major catalysts for Anna and Elsie's dark future. Right, was Aramis getting Stasis and leading an attack on the city with who? The Cabal, and the Cabal were going to be there. Sabathun was going to be there, and the Vex were going to be there. Mm-hmm. Like, all four factions were going to be attacking us at once. We've successfully repelled Aramis. The Cabal have been repelled. The Vex will be repelled by the end of this season. That still means we're going to fail at some point, probably.
Yeah.
The Helm is too constructed at this point for me to not think that it's going to be our new main social space. Because you've got the Fallen in their corner, give another corner to the Cabal eventually, and then bring your vendors in. Have them stand around the table like the old days.
Yeah.
You know, you've got Crow in the back of the ship. It is very clearly a ship. Mm-hmm. There's a catch docked in, or I don't know if it's a catch, but there's a little Fallen ship that's docked in the Helm.
Yeah.
Like, that's so cool to see. Like, you can see them working on it. You've got a giant servitor there. Like, I don't know what you necessarily do, but I do think at some point the Helm is taking off. And I wonder if Dead Orbit is involved in that. Now that we have the factions coming to, we have to start wondering this. Mm-hmm. Is Dead Orbit somehow involved in the creation of this? Because their thing is leave the planet for the stars.
Right.
That's Dead Orbit. Like, we're fighting a losing war here. We need to leave. Like, how ironic would it be that the Space Goths are the one that save us in the end? That's long been a theory of mine, is that they have a secret fleet constructed, because Dead Orbit does have a ton of ships. Mm-hmm. They're the ones who evacuated people from the city during the Red War.
Right.
You know, that caused them to live, and they hung out in space until it was safe to come back. Mm-hmm. So, does that happen again? You know, where do we go from here?
Yeah.
I don't know. There's a lot to ponder here. There's a lot more intriguing lore. Next week, we're going to start getting into the weapons and the armor of this season, which just has... I don't know if the armor does, but I know that at least the weapons have some really intriguing storylines. And again, some of these we're going to save. The stuff about Lakshmi, I want to start saving.
Yeah.
Because at some point, we're going to have to do a dive on her. She's fucking nuts.
Yeah.
If you listen to any of the dialogue in the overrides, in the tower, she's fucking nuts. Like, something's going to have to happen with her eventually. Mm-hmm. Because she is, cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. And I really hope that it's Saint that, like, punches her in the face. Mm-hmm. So... But that's going to conclude Lore Corner tonight. That's kind of a long one, I know. We got multiple weapons. It's the beginning of a new season. We got a lot of stuff we got to pick and choose here, but it's kind of the set that's for where we're going with some of these main characters that might not have a lot of dialogue right now. But the narrative team is killing it over here with the writing.
Yeah, every time we do Lore Corner, especially like something that has to do with this season, and then we start speculating about what's coming, I could do a whole nother 2 hours on that. Easily.
Oh, easily.
Man. I love Lore Corner, Josh. I love it.
I do too.
It's my favorite part of the show.
It's the best part of the show.
It is. You're the best part of the show, Josh.
I know.
But all good things...
No false modesty here.
All good things must come to an end like this show, but don't worry, we'll be back next week. Thank you guys so much for watching and or listening to Tower Casuals. Remember, you can catch us live on Thursday nights, podcast feeds on Thursday nights. The video goes up on Fridays. Check us out. Like, subscribe, share, rate, and review wherever you consume Tower Casuals. Leave us a review on iTunes. Josh, where can we find you?
Twitter and Twitch at Josh_Finn with 2 N's. I am going to be getting back to streaming. Right now we're debating if we're going to stream the day one attempt for Vault of Glass. I don't really want my internet dropping during the raid race though, so might not happen. I don't want you guys to see how bad I am with the Relic. But I do want to get back to some streaming. I'll be doing a lot of couch streams. No camera streams because I have an OLED TV being delivered in the morning.
Ooh,
to go with my brand new shiny digital PS5.
Where are you putting that thing? You got space for it?
Living room. I actually don't have room on the desk. I can't get my monitor has no more room to move down.
Yeah.
And I can't stand it up because I have a hutch on my desk. So I can't stand the PlayStation up, but I can't lay it down either because then it'll be like tilted a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm just like, oh my god, like no, this is a $400 machine I just bought. That's it. They're both going. I'm buying the OLED finally. It's on sale. We got a lot more than we expected in our tax returns, like over double what we expected.
Ooh.
I'm buying a TV right now. I've already paid for the vacation. Like we're not buying anything else for the rest of the year. I bought myself a PS5 and an OLED this week because I'm an adult and that's what adults do.
Man, I want an OLED TV so bad.
I don't even have a 4K TV. The only 4K screen I have in my entire house is my monitor, and I just got that in November because our friend Ray Apollo was kind enough to help me procure a 4K monitor that does it can go up to about 75 frames. Great, it's a great screen, but as it stands right now, I cannot do anything in this office. It's really tiny, and my desk is very restrictive. So that's where we are. I might move the Series S in here.
That might be smart. My Series S is in the office, and my Series X is up on my big 4K TV. So, but Josh, you know where you can find me. I am Corey in HD on Twitter. You can find me
literally everywhere.
Everywhere, yes, literally. This is my 4th show this week. I'm a little tired, Josh. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Oof.
On top of
I couldn't do that many shows.
On top of work, so that work, dude. I'll tell you off air. All right, thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time. Goodbye.
We love you.
We love you. Goodbye.
I like how we swapped this week.
We did.